Hi and welcome to this video. I'm Jan Alpsjö, writer of the book Successful Selling and Professional Presentation Skills. I will in 3 short films show you how you can meet with 3 different categories that you can find in an audience or in a meeting. One way to get hold of listeners is to divide them into people that behave as if they accept what you're saying. Positive people, I call them acceptants. The other group of people can be low reactives. They don't show anything, don't say anything. Low reactives. And the third group can be people that wants to investigate, asks a lot of questions, even argue with you. Here they are called argumentatives. These categories can, of course, be in one and the same group, but they can also be low reactive group, argumentative group, and acceptance group. How do I meet with these people without losing them? How do I discuss with these people without disturbing the situation? How do I profit from them? In the films, I will go through 5 different important questions to ask oneself with the purpose of handling this kind of audience, understand them and meet and treat them in a professional way. In presentations, where the ambition is to sell an idea or to sell items, the goal must be to have the audience accept what you're saying and also accept you as a person. To do this, you must know how to meet with people that doesn't show anything, and people who ask a lot of questions, even wants to criticize you. If we take a look at this figure, this coordinate, there is an important question to ask. Where on this coordinate can you find listeners who are most likely willing to act in a positive way? That is, who are most willing to follow you to the end and also most willing to make a close. Now, people who are most willing to act in a positive way, you will find in an area up in a sec to the right in the coordinate. The next question to ask yourself is, how do I make listeners, acceptants, low reactives, and people who wants to argue and discuss, argumentatives, move into that area, that sack? In the films, I will step by step show you how to move listeners into this area and make them more willing to come to a conclusion or come to a close. To start with, there are 5 questions you have to ask yourself to encircle each group. These questions are, who can they be and why? That's the first question. The second question is, what happens with me or you when you meet them? The third question is, what are the traps? Because there are traps. The fourth question is, what is good about these listeners? And the 5th question, which is the most important question, the instrumental question. What shall I do when I meet them? Remember, the goal should be to keep them to the end. And in selling your ideas, to make them willing to make some kind of close. So this is important. Before we start with the first group, the acceptance, I would like to clarify a couple of things. When I ask who can they be, the answer is a guess, more or less. Maybe I don't know their functions, their position in the company, what they represent, or the function they have in their organizations. Or maybe I do. The important thing here is to encircle them in a way so that I feel comfortable and able to meet them. If I know their function, it is perfect. The why is actually the same question. Why are they here listening to me? Now, the second question is about your inner reactions. They may be hard to see, but try to find out what happens with you. Do you get worried, excited, angry when you meet these people? Irritated, competitive, or what? Don't make it a blind spot. Try to find out. The fourth question is there to make you comfortable and directive in your approach. The fifth question is, of course, the most important question. The very instrument that will help you be in charge. So let's start with the most positive listeners. People who are very acceptant, very positive in their approach. People who are not. People who agree, at least on the surface. The question that might come to mind is, why shall I learn to handle these people? They are already positive. Why care about them? Well, you're right. To a certain extent, yes. But the main purpose with these videos is to find out how to make listeners come into the area up to the left, to the sack on the coordinate, with substance. That they are, at the end of my presentation, substantially positive to what I've said in my presentation. They are the easiest people to have in front of you in the presentation, but still, there are some important things to consider. So let's see what we can get hold of. The first question, who can they be and why are they so positive? We can never be 100% sure of why someone is in a certain way. But we can speculate about it and in that way come closer to the truth and thereby also a possibility to meet with the situation in a proper way. The answer to this first question is often a guess. It could be, maybe they don't understand and don't want to show it. Or they intuitively like you. You look nice, so they're positive. Or it could be, they like the organization you represent. Or they laugh and smile because you are a celebrity. It could be because you're the boss, so they have to. They might want to get on or maybe even get rid of what you are talking about. They have a social positive attitude. They're nice people. They know what you are talking about. They agree with you. They support your ideas substantially. These suggestions are nothing more than suggestions. The most important thing is to catch possible reasons to make you act. Being uncertain is not a good footing for a professional approach. Being wrong is neither. So try to figure out why they are positive. The next question is about what happens with you when you have these positive people in front of you. As I mentioned at the beginning, it might be difficult to see your reactions yourself. Answers that I have received when I've asked the question to the people I've trained are like, well, when the audience look positive, they seem to understand, so I don't have to be that accurate in my presentation. I get suspicious. Do they really understand? Well, I look at them too much. I even talk only to them. I get flattered. I like them, it gives me inspiration. I try to use them when answering questions or asking questions. These are some answers. Try to find your own way of reacting. Important. The third question is about traps. What kind of traps may there be in having these positive people in front of you in the audience? Once again, I go back to what people have answered when being asked about the traps. Someone said that evidently they understand, so I don't have to be that accurate in my explanations. And someone else said, I keep looking at people that looks positive and forget the rest of the audience. Because I have the idea, I get less nervous when I look at the positive people. But as I said, I lose the rest. I tend to be careless with the content, someone else said. Careless with the structure, maybe less focused. When I come to the end of a presentation, I have experienced not only once that the guy who looked like he approved sort of didn't want to agree on a close. I fooled myself deeply because I didn't check the substance, someone else said. Fourth question. What is good about these listeners? Well, there are a couple of things that I think is very good with a positive audience, except from the hopefully obvious willingness to come to a close, and that is they create an atmosphere that is very open and helps augmenting the availability in the group itself. They encourage me in my presentation in the sense that I become more open and energized. They also inspire me into believing that I add some value in both the presentation itself and in the way I make the presentation through my person. Now the fifth and absolutely most important question is, what shall I do when I meet them? This is the instrumental part. This is the instrumental question. You need these people. If all are happy to listen to you, it's perfect. But life is not always that easy. My first suggestion is, let them be. And then encourage them. Show them that you see them. If you ask them a question, ask them a closed question to start with. When you are sure of them and you sense they can add something, ask them an open-ended question where the intention is evident. Don't force them into guessing about your intentions. For instance, you can start with a platform to make it easier for them to answer. That is, for instance, give them a background or a situation of some kind and then formulate the questions. Like, please, could you, based on this, tell me, blah, blah. Or could you please explain your position on this that I've been talking about? Try to find out the substance behind the positive attitude. If you are too much on here, and they have weak substance, they might get low reactive. When you know about their substance, let the acceptance into the discussion. Let them support you, if possible. Support your ideas, your arguments, your position. And at the end of the presentation, refer to their arguments and their ideas. Make them important. The acceptance are most of the time quite easy to deal with, but be careful. There might be traps. One slippy, careful step and the risk is high. You will lose them, and then they become low reactive. These were some possible answers to the 5 questions that I think is important to deal with in a presentation. Of course, it is possible to divide the audience into other kind of groups than the 3 categories I've showed here, that I've been talking about here. I have given you suggestions, but there is no one way of doing this. You have to find your way that makes your presentations, uniquely yours. In the next film, I will cover the low reactive part of the audience and how to deal with them in a professional presentations. So for now, bye, and see you in the next film.